All right. But with that, I will hand it over to both of you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Suzanne. Hi, everyone. Caitlin Herring joining you from the WIX Academic Partnerships team this morning. I'm also joined by my colleague, Ellery. Ellery, you want to say a quick hello?
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here. And I am also on the academic partnerships team for the South region. So I'm excited to help you guys out and show you a little bit what WIX can do for you guys.
Awesome. So today we're going to be covering why you need an online presence, how to begin creating your portfolio, and how to design and manage your portfolio with WIX. So before we really dive in, I'd love to hear from everyone, either via the chat or feel free to come off mute. But curious why you think it's important to have a website. What prompted you to, join today's session and invest in this portfolio course here?
Can I answer that question? Good
Yeah,
morning,
please.
everyone, by the way. Well, it's important to have a website because a website is a more accessible platform for your business. Not everybody has social media, but a website is also like a professional way of networking and promoting your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was Tiara. You nailed it, right? There's opportunities for networking, connecting. Not everyone has social media. So you want to make sure that your brand, your business, or you as an individual is accessible or discoverable out there on the web. Okay. Great opportunity to showcase your work. Looking to see what else we have here at the chat. Great participation. Best way to network. That's from Sky. And I see it sounds like some people already have a portfolio looking for other ways to enhance it. Thank you, Arna. Dom, more professional, absolutely. It allows you to tell your story and also start to put your personal brand out there, which we'll talk more about, right? Gives you a little bit more credibility once you have your own website. Yeah, Jennifer, instructional designer. Employers want to see your work. It's important to build a website so that your work is accessible. Absolutely. If you start applying for internships, opportunities, maybe some of you are going on to grad school in the future, you'll want to be able to showcase your work, showcase your skills and talents. And maybe you might even find yourself in a virtual environment like the one we're in today, interviewing. Being able to pull up your website and kind of say, hey, look at this project that I've done in class. I want to walk you through it. This is what I was able to accomplish. That's going to be a lot more fruitful than just kind of walking through some bullets, on your resume. Okay. And then easier to showcase things like video or games. Absolutely. This is a multimedia platform. So if you are in a creative field where maybe you're using a lot of video, you want to show models of work that you're creating. You're going to have all of these creative tools at your disposal once you start working with WIX. So it's going to be a lot to kind of work with and really showcase your talents. All right, you guys really nailed it. I think the one other thing just to mention here is that if you develop an online presence, it's going to give you a leg up compared to the competition, right? For those who don't have one, again, this is going to just, indicate to your, potential clients or to a recruiter that you are someone that's credible, that you have a lot of experience, and this is the way that you're going to be able to showcase that. All right, so for anyone who's not familiar with WIX, we are a drag and drop website builder. You do not need to know how to code to build a website with WIX. It's going to be relatively intuitive, and I'm going to walk you through how to get started today. So the best way to kind of see WIX in action is to check out how other students have used the platform to showcase their work in a portfolio. So let's start with Ellen's website. And I'm just going to scroll down her homepage. Again, feel free to drop in the chat anything that's like standing out to you, anything that you really like, or any questions you have about what we're seeing here. You may notice down the center, she's showcasing about 4 or 5 projects that she's worked on. And then what I think makes her page unique is she also has over on the right a couple of her passion projects or things she just likes to do for fun. So, you know, something to keep in mind. You can kind of blend, you know, the two things together, what you like to do outside of school, what you do in school, to really showcase who you are. And then if I just scroll back down, I want to just show you the really nice and creative way she's inviting people to connect. And she's giving us 3 different ways to do that, either via email, we can connect with her on LinkedIn, or check out her Instagram. Okay, and you can see this is a website that was built for free with Wix. And we'll talk more about kind of the differences between you know, using the free version and premium, but you can see how beautiful and professional it is. Sherry, I see you have your hand raised. Feel free to come off mute.
Yes. First, thank you for showing us this. I really appreciate it. Also, I currently have a website. Mine is not with Wix. Mine is with WordPress. And so, like, a lot of the issues that I have are like behind hers. It looks this website is very clean. Like, it's very simple. You got this in the middle, this on the side. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, and I know it's going to be different because WordPress and Wix are different, but I don't know how to do clean things. Like, how do you, it's so hard to maneuver the digital, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to get some tips on like how to maneuver and do things the way you want, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And I think once we get into the demonstration in a few minutes, you'll start to see some of the ways that with Wix you can make it a lot easier in terms of the design. So one, we're going to look at templates. So most students don't start from a blank page. They start from a template, which kind of has some of the layout or the structure that you might like already kind of set up. So then your time is really spent on adding your own content, telling your story, maybe just giving a little bit more of a personal spin on the design. So I think that's a huge help for students. And then, you know, there's lots of different features, but which give you, you know, a lot of tools in your toolkit. However, it can be a little overwhelming, right? Sometimes you don't know what to add. So we're going to talk about doing a little planning up front before you get into the build process that will kind of help you stay focused once you start designing. So hopefully, Sherry, those 2 things will help you as you continue on your you know, path with your portfolio.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, great question. Okay, so let's talk about that planning process. So before you even start building your website, you want to make sure that you follow a couple of steps just to help you stay focused. And we're talking primarily about portfolios today. However, if you're creating a website for your business, this process can apply there as well. So this is universal. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is to identify your site's goal. Okay, for most of us probably on this call, our goal will be to build a professional home for our work. However, for others, you might be looking to, you know, sell products online, maybe launch a blog or a podcast. No matter what you're looking to achieve, it's just important to have that goal in mind because this will determine what content, pages, features you'll want to include on your site. So let's take a look at another example. This is from Jorge, who studied industrial design up in Rhode Island. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to scroll down his homepage, and I'd love to hear from all of you what you think Jorge's goal is just by glancing at his homepage. Yeah, so from Brittany, almost like a resume. Yep, you can see here, he's inviting you to check out his portfolio. You can also click and open up a PDF of his resume, which is a really nice feature as well. And then you can check out his project. Yeah, Tiara, you nailed it. Jorge is looking for an internship with a design studio, and you can see that really spelled out clearly for his visitors right here. He's interested in finding this internship experience with a certain type of studio where he can work on a certain type of project and leverage his unique skills. So this is what I would call like a personal statement, or you could call it like an objective or goal. Don't be shy to say, you know, on your portfolio, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm looking to do next. Okay. All right. Yeah. And Sky, it matches. He has a very nice, consistent color palette. Looks a lot different than Ellen's, right? Different styles, but both very professional. Okay. So once you have your goal, it's important to then identify your call to action, or your CTA. So think of your call to action as a way to direct your visitors to what you want them to do on your website. So if you are building a portfolio, your CTA might be download my resume, or maybe contact me. If you are building a online store, your CTA will probably be shop now, buy now. Okay, so you want to be thinking in advance what your call to action is going to be. And then we'll talk in the demonstration about how you can really highlight those CTAs. All right, so we have our goal, we have our CTA. Step number 2 is to begin curating your content. All right, and this is probably the hardest part in the process. And oftentimes I get the same question. Caitlin, how many projects or work samples should I include in my portfolio? I'm, just starting out, maybe I don't have a lot. My advice is always to go with quality over quantity. And, you can aim to have anywhere between, I would say, 4 to 8 projects or experiences, any sort of experience you've had maybe with an organization on campus, or something you do in the summer. The type of quote unquote projects can vary, but stick with quality over quantity. Okay. And I always plug to also lean into your advisor team at the Career Center, your professors, to also ask them, based on your potential industry or area of study, what also might be a good plan in terms of the number of pieces you want to include. All right, here's just a really easy content checklist. Other things you'll want to include on your site. Of course, you want to have an about me paragraph or section, probably your resume, and a way for people to connect with you. So once you know what content you'll be working with, you'll want to think about how you can organize it on your site. So what we're looking at here on the screen is just an example of a sitemap, which is a helpful tool to identify any of the primary pages you want to feature, as well as any secondary or sub pages. When designing a portfolio, I recommend just sticking with the 3 basic pages or sections. That's going to be an about page, a home for your work, and a way for people to contact you. All right, let me just take a quick pause. Any questions? How are we doing? I see some head nods. All good. Okay, great. Question from Tiara. Would you say a blog is essential for documentation? Maybe you can add a little bit more detail in terms of what you mean by documentation, Tiara.
Oh, so like for an artist, like our process is important. And like I do have artists that I do admire, and going on their website, they don't have, like, I know 2 artists, Janice Sung and then Leaf Johansson. They have like a blog on their website, but it's more so like Eric Johansson, his blog, it's more so like personal, whereas like Janice Sung, her blog is like what she did to become an independent artist. So like, because like I feel like that's a question that's asked a lot from like people who are looking for directions for them to become a freelance artist as well. or like documentation as far as like their process. Because like when I look on an artist, like, you know, website, I would love to see their process. I know that some do time lapse on their social medias, but then again,
Mhm.
like I feel like a website is more professional, it's more accessible because not everybody has social media, and people tend to stumble across your work somehow on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, good question. And I love that you're looking at other artists' websites and getting ideas or just reflecting on what they have. That's a good exercise to get in the habit of seeing what other leaders in your field or other peers of yours, how they're showcasing their work. That'll give you some ideas for your own. I would say a blog is one mechanism for how you could potentially tell your story. And if writing is something you want to use as a way to do that, I can show you how you can easily add a blog to your site this morning. You can also incorporate writing to talk about your process, maybe even in your about page or kind of your section of your website. I've seen students do that, kind of what inspires them, how they like to work. So there's really no, one way to do it. And like you mentioned, you could also do time-lapse videos. It's really easy to integrate video into your WIX site. You can also embed or integrate your Instagram feed right into your site as well. So that can be a component if you're using that as a way to showcase, how you work or your process. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but it's really a personal choice and what you think will be most effective at communicating your story to your intended target audience.
Thank you. No, that answers my question a lot. So I do have a question, another question. From your point of view, because you were talking about embedding like your social
Mhm.
media and like onto your page, do you feel like by doing that, does it make the page more personable, like a means to connect with your audience more? Or
It can, sure. Yeah, it definitely can. We were going to talk into Simone about personal branding, so that might give you some ideas. There's lots of different ways you can kind of showcase your personal brand and, really kind of connect with your audience in that way. So, more to come. And I will also say portfolio is a process you'll be working on for probably the rest of your professional life. So the portfolio you create in the next 6 months, year, it's going to evolve, it's going to grow. You can start small and then always add more content. So, you can kind of take it in steps or phases, if you will.
got you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
great. Yeah, good questions. So let's take a look at just one more example, and then we'll take some time to talk about personal brands. So this is a student who is studying mechanical engineering. So kind of a different look and feel, but you'll notice he has a lot of that, those content items checked off here. He has a nice professional photo. Okay, he has introduced who he is, what he's passionate about. He has a call to action to learn more. So you see as I hover over this button, you then get more of a bio or about me section for Alex. And then another call to action to view his resume. This will pop open that nice PDF. And then he's using what we call a WIX gallery to showcase 6 projects that he's worked on. And when you click on the image, it's going to take you to what we call a project detail page where you can talk more about your process and what was required, what the challenge was, how you kind of move from step A to step B in the process. And I'm going to share this presentation with Suzanne and team, so if anyone wants a copy of it, you'll have the chance to look back at these examples. All right, so the final step in the process is to take some time to reflect on your personal brand and how you can showcase it in your portfolio. Now, we like to say your personal brand is a combination of your expertise, your experience, and your personality. Essentially, what is it that makes you unique, right? And then you want to, once you have an idea with how that all comes together, you want to use it to influence your design choices. So how can you showcase your personality, through the color choices you make, maybe through the type of font or typography you use on the page. Maybe it's all about the tone of your writing. Are you someone that's more formal, or are you someone that's more conversational in your tone? How do you want to kind of strike that in the way that you're communicating on your site? Maybe you want to design a logo, right? This can be another way to kind of, symbolize, who it is that, who you are. Okay, so these are just some ideas. A lot of students like to do like a Pinterest board to get some inspiration before they move into the process. So that could be a fun way to get some ideas down. All right, so with the next two websites, I would love to hear from you guys all again, either in the chat or feel free to come off mute. And I want to hear either one or two words that you would use to describe this student's personal brand just by looking at their portfolio. Okay, so this is Sophie. Let's hear one or two words you would use to describe Sophie's personal brand.
I would say clean and minimalist.
Minimalist, clean. Yep. What else?
I would say modern. and
Modern.
simplistic.
Simplistic. Yeah. Jennifer, monochromatic. Classic, calm and focused, reflective. Love all of these words.
It's definitely like editorial.
Yeah,
Way that
editorial.
the way that the work is being photographed. Definitely editorial.
Yeah, and I think, there's some kind of choices she's made here that are probably signaling some of, these adjectives for you, right? So she's chosen a black and white image. Some students I meet with, they say this kind of feels like vintage, right? It kind of gives a certain feeling to it. Also her typography. One student said this feels like the New York Times, right? Just by the choice of how she's, using her fonts, right? So it kind of elevates it to having that, that kind of feel to it. And then the color choices, very neutral, very calming. That kind of gives that minimal feeling as well. And then you'll notice she's given a lot of space on the page. So there's a lot of time to kind of breathe as the visitor here, really take in her images, which is the focus. Okay, so just, we're just kind of starting to have a little bit more of a critical eye as we're looking at websites. So something you can do, in your free time as well. And you'll start to kind of formulate maybe how you want to convey your brand in this manner as well. All right, let's take a look at another student's site. Same exercise, one or two words to describe Jung's personal brand. Action,
would
movement,
assume-
fun. Yep, Sherry, yep.
Sorry, I was gonna say I would assume he's trying to go for like a international, something international, considering the way he showed like different languages. So he's trying to appeal to multiple audiences.
Absolutely. Inclusive, international, really fun way to kind of welcome you onto his page. From Jane, playful and quirky. Absolutely. Those like yellow bouncing balls. It feels like you're in like that ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese or something back in the day. Bold and bright. Yeah, a lot of playful. You could probably imagine what it might be like to work with Jung on a team, on a project, right? You would imagine he would come with a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, make it fun. So again, just be thinking about how you can kind of use color. Animation and movement is another thing we'll cover shortly. That's another way to kind of bring your personality to life as well on the page. And then again, using a gallery to showcase only 4 projects. So this is not, a look at his entire career. And once you kind of click onto the photo, it brings you once again to this project detail page, kind of walking you through his process, you know, what the problem was and how he used insights and research to get to his solution.
And he did all this with Wix?
All this with Wix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a ton of other examples here in the presentation. Students in journalism, another designer and strategist, lots of different styles. We even have a musician. So if anyone's in the performing arts, might give you some ideas here as well. Anyone who's in more of a research field or producing a lot of writing as part of their academic career, you can maybe get some ideas from Sarah's portfolio here. All right, before we get into the WIX platform, any questions about the content that I've shared so far? Okay, all right, so let's get into it because I want to maximize our time building our site today. So for anyone who's new to WIX, to get started, you'll just go to wix.com in your browser. Don't need to download any software. And you're going to look for this Get Started button right here in the middle. And together, I'm going to create a new account for us today. So that way you can really understand kind of how it feels to get started as a new user. And I'm just going to use a new email. You can also use your Google or your Facebook credentials. And you can use either your school email, your personal email. You can always change it later on if you want. Now, WIX is going to begin by just asking you a couple of questions. So we'll click Get Started. First question, what kind of website are you creating today? I'll just go ahead and say portfolio. You can be even more specific if you'd like. What would you like to call your website? You can name it now. You can name it later. We're going to just hit the skip button down at the bottom right. We're not really worried about that just yet. What are your goals for the website? You can check any of them here. We'll just hit just explore. What do you want to add on your site? Again, you don't need to know in advance. You can check or uncheck any of the options, or we can just skip it. Have you created a website before? I'm going to say this is my very first time. And that'll bring us to a pretty important screen. So make a note of this one because there are actually two ways for how you can create your website with WIX. First option over here on the left is to build your site using WIX ADI, which just stands for Artificial Design Intelligence. So in this scenario, WIX is going to ask you a couple of questions and create a website for you in a matter of minutes. The option over here on the right is the one I recommend for all students, and that's to choose a template and create your site in the WIX editor. So that's what we're going to do now. So now we're here in our template library, and we're looking specifically at portfolio templates because that's what we said we were planning to create. And you'll notice you can hover over any of the templates to click view. And the important thing to note about templates is that they are just a starting off point. So everything you're going to do with the template is everything in the template you can customize, you can edit, you can make it your own. Okay, so it's just a foundation. And there's lots of different layouts, styles, but keep in mind, everything we're looking at, the background, the fonts, the colors, the effects, you can change them all. Okay, maybe you're not feeling that one, you want to keep browsing. We can look at maybe this one here, totally different look and feel. This might align more with your personality or might have kind of the the content laid out, maybe how you were thinking about it. Okay, and you can see kind of all the same types of pages and sections, that about page, contact, home for your work. Okay. Now, for anyone who's not creating a portfolio, I encourage you to also browse all the other categories of templates we have, everything from e-com to tons of creative options. So if you're in the creative arts or you're in, graphic and web, maybe you're a musician, tons and tons of choices. Okay, and you can use a template from any category, no matter what you're creating. Again, you're gonna make it your own. So for today's purposes, I'm going to actually go ahead and select this one here. This is just a nice CV template. And when you're ready to begin building your site, you're going to hover over and click Edit. And that will bring you into the Wix editor. Let me pause here. Any questions on how we got to this point in the process?
Just to make sure, so we'll be able to edit a full website and publish it for free?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wix works as a freemium model. So you can create an account and create as many websites as you'd like for free. The times when you want to consider upgrading to a premium plan is when you want to connect to your own custom domain. So a free Wix domain is your email handle .wixsite.com, which we saw like in Ellen and Jorge's examples. And there's a banner up at the top that just says the website was made with Wix. But if you want to customize your domain and get rid of that banner, then it's a good time to upgrade to premium. Okay. But otherwise, we're going to do a lot of stuff today, and it'll all be available to you for free. All right, so here we are in the editor. I'm going to just select this image. I'm going to begin resizing it. I'm going to move it around the page. This is that drag and drop experience I mentioned earlier. You'll notice above the image, a floating menu will appear, and this is where you have the option to change it. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's your media manager. You have two options. You can, of course, upload your own media in the top left corner. Grab something from your desktop, Google Drive. However, in the instances when you don't have an image, you'll want to explore media from Wix, and that's over here on the left. Because now you have access to thousands of free images. You don't have to worry about copyright issues or like stealing stuff off the internet, not knowing who owns it. And you have all these different categories to choose from. So it's a really nice benefit for students because, we don't have maybe all of the creative assets, maybe we don't have the time. So this is a really good resource to take advantage of. So I'm selecting a new image, changing the one I have here on the page. Now we can explore the other settings here. We have this nice design option. We can add like a frame. We can add a filter if we want. We can even animate it. So anytime you see that diamond button here in the floater, you can give it a little add. Some are auction, another, so choose carefully. Okay. Same with text. We're just going to select it and hit edit. And now we can, add our own content here. We can change up the fonts. You can even upload your own fonts if that's important to you. And we can change up the color, of course. Color, really important for your branding. Every template is going to come with a suggested theme or palette, usually with about 5 colors. You can certainly work from it, or you can click edit, which will allow you to then change the theme. You can change individual colors, or you can pick one of our featured themes. So this is a really nice, easy way for you to start to kind of add your own personal touch onto your site. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll just work with this one here. And that'll change the colors across all the different pages. You can also remove elements. So I'm just hitting select, I'm deleting them, creating more space for us to add new content. All right. So let's begin doing that. Let's start to add some new content to the homepage here. So we're going to look over here on the left for our add button, the plus sign. This has all of the different features you'll want to use to create your portfolio. We won't go through all of these today, so spend some time here. But let's start with something simple. So let's just go ahead and add a paragraph of text. And anytime you want to add a new feature, clicking, dragging, and dropping from the panel over to the page here. All right, and then let's edit. Oh, it's being a little buggy, but you get the idea. This would be a good place to add your personal statement, maybe a little intro. And then probably the third thing you'll want to add here is your call to action, right? We said that was critical. A really easy way to highlight your call to action is to use a button. You can see here in the ad panel, lots of different styles, lots of different CTAs you can work with. I'm just going to go ahead and select a themed button here. First thing you'll do is click change text to add your CTA. I want people to get in touch with me. So mine is contact me. Now your second step is to add a link. So you want to link this button. Anytime you see that little blue chain link icon in Wix, it means you can link the element to one of the items over here on the left. So you can link it to a website. If this was for your resume, you could link it to that PDF version of your resume here. However, in my case, I just want to link it to a page, specifically my contact page. And we're going to click done. All right, now let's go up to preview. So I'm navigating to the top right-hand corner of the editor, and I'm going to click preview to see what our site would look like. All right, so we see a little animation. Let's click on the button, and you'll see it'll take us to our contact page. Okay, so it's a little bit about how you can start to add features and link them throughout your process. Now, before we continue, I want to go ahead and save my site. So I'm going to click save at the top right here. And once again, you'll be introduced to this free Wix domain. So it's my email handle .wix site, and then anything after that backslash I can edit. All right, and then as I mentioned, you could go down the process of connecting to your own custom domain, and then you would just need to upgrade to a premium plan. All right, so now the next panel I just want to introduce us to is over here on the left, highlighted in green. This is your menus and pages panel. And you can see here, this template came with 4 pages, depending on which one you're working from. You know, it could be longer or shorter or list. And you can always add a page down here at the bottom. All right, so here's where you can move from page to page. And then you can click add page. Wix loves templates, so you can choose a blank page or you could pick one of these really nice layouts. All right, so maybe you just want to, include a page. We talked earlier about, explaining your process or, what inspires you. Maybe you want to include a little writing about that. So let's go ahead and we'll just add this page. Okay, maybe this is, you want to just label it process, for lack of a better word, and we'll click done. So we've added the page, and now you can start, adding your own content, updating the photos, changing up the background. But what I want to also bring to your attention is that here in the site menu, which is highlighted in orange, that new projects page is automatically featured. Okay, so you have all your pages here, and now your visitors will be able to access this new one. All right, so that's a little bit about how you can start customizing your menu as well as adding pages. So let's go back to the ad panel and let's start to just explore some features you can use to showcase your work. And please, I'm taking any specific type of feature you're interested in, or you're like, I have this type of work I want to showcase. What do you recommend? Feel free to put it in the chat box and I'll try to cover as much as I can in the next 15 minutes or so.
Hey,
All right,
Caitlin,
so let's start with galleries because we saw, yes,
I don't
question.
know. I don't know the name of the feature. I don't know how to type it, but you know, like when you have a page and it's like a slideshow, I guess. Like a
Yep.
slideshow feature.
Yeah, we have a slideshow feature. I can definitely show you where that is. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And a question from Jennifer, can Wix handle host articulate storyline projects? Jennifer, is that, remind
It's an
me,
instructional
articulate,
design
what
tool.
format it is?
It's an
Right.
instructional design tool, and it's usually a SCORM package. And there's a couple
Okay.
of other formats that it can go into, but it's usually you can embed it into an LMS, a learning management system. But it's complicated to host it on just about like I have a WordPress site right now,
Yeah.
and you have to pay for the hosting, or
Okay.
you have to pay for extra things to do it. And I didn't know if Wix had that as an option.
Yeah. Good question. Ellery, maybe you can see if there's any good information on that particular technology. I will say here in the ad panel, we have an option for embeds, and you can use HTML code, you can embed a site or a custom element. My guess is this is probably where you can easily add that particular type of file. Okay, so Ellery, if you find anything, you can drop it in the chat that's specific to Storyline. But this is probably where you can input that particular file. Okay. All right. So let's go back up top here. Let's just play around with our gallery. So this is a nice way to showcase not only images, but projects, as we saw in some of the examples. And there's lots of different styles. I'm just going to choose this quick grid gallery. All right, I'm going to make it a little bit wider on my page here. Wix just populates it with some, sample photos. So you want to start by adding your own. So let's click Manage Media to begin that process. All right. Now you can, remove some of the image placeholders here. Maybe you want a smaller gallery. We saw Jung only used 4 images in his gallery, so you can really customize it. We'll stick with 6. And then over here on the right is where you would add your images as well as a title and a description for that image or project. You can also link it as well. Okay, so imagine you have your work here, or maybe your hero images for the projects you're showcasing. The next thing you'll want to do is just explore the additional settings. And this is true for so many features in Wix. You'll want to be able to maybe adjust the layout a bit. Maybe play around with the design of the gallery. So you can maybe add like a nice overlay here. Choose a fun color from your palette. And you can even add like a nice hover effect. So maybe it slides up. Okay, so now when we click preview, I hover over the images, we're seeing that nice effect. It matches our color palette. And now I can go through the images or the projects that you have in your portfolio. All right, so that's just one type of feature you could use. Now, there was a question about slideshows. Oops, let me go back to editor. That's why. So for a slideshow, you want to go to your add panel and you want to browse our interactive category. Okay, and you can see we have tons of different full width as well as box slideshows, all customizable. So I'll just drag and drop one here. This is a good one. Okay, so if we go to preview, this is what that experience would look like. And you can set it as to appear automatically slide to slide or to have the individual click on the arrows here. So you can determine the behaviors of it as well. And then of course you can change up the background of the slides. You know, you could put your images of your work or, you know, any experiences you've had, right? You can change up the text. And then here's where you can play around with the settings and so forth. Okay, so that's a good tool to explore as well. All right, let me just look quickly here in the chat. All right, so Sherry, we talked a little bit about the menu. Let me know if you have any more specific questions. You can use the panel to manage your menu. You can always also like reorder your pages here. You can also create sub pages. So if you want to, for example, move this process under the category of projects, it's just a quick drag to the right and it creates that indentation there. And then when you hit preview, you'll see process now falls under the category projects. Okay, so hopefully that'll give you some, you know, more ideas of how to work with the menu. And then let's see, does WIX automatically adjust to tablet, mobile, and desktop? Great question. So we have only been working here in our desktop editor. However, you want to navigate to the top, click on the mobile icon to bring you to our mobile editor. Because as we know, most people are going to access your website from a mobile device. So you want to toggle between the two throughout the process so you can make some adjustments. Okay. And ensure that you're going to have, you know, a professional website on both desktop and mobile. Now for tablet, we don't have an editor for tablet, but we do have these grid lines going down vertically here on the page. Might be a little hard to see, but they're here on the right and the left. That's the standard width of a tablet. So that's a guideline to say that you want to make sure all of your most important features, information is going to sit within those grid lines, or else they may risk not being seen by someone on a tablet. Okay, decorative items can kind of float, you know, beyond those lines, but the important stuff, you want to try to keep it here in the middle. Okay, good questions. One more from Sky. How can you advertise multiple fields such as illustration, painting, and graphic design? So if you're in multiple fields, you can choose to do it in a whole host of different ways. So you can have, you know, individual pages for your different categories of work, and you can kind of showcase them in your menu. You could also do something maybe on your home page where you introduce that you work in those three different fields, and maybe you use something like here in our list category, you know, these are what we call like repeaters. So you could, you know, do something like, let's see, maybe something like this here. Right? It kind of sets it up really nicely for you. You have three things. You could put like a hero image for each of your categories, maybe a little, you know, quick one-liner about the type of illustration or painting you do. And then when someone clicks on this image or button, it'll take them to your page about illustration, about painting, about graphic design. So lots of different ways you can kind of create the navigation for it. So hopefully, Sky, that answered your question. All right, so we have about 8 minutes left. Let me just quickly run through a couple of other features that are really important. So we talked about the importance of make connections. So you want to maybe use your social media as a way to network. We have these social media bars you can drag and drop. And then you can customize based on, the platforms that you use. So maybe you just use Twitter and LinkedIn. You can also add more icons, and we have a whole library of them. You'll drop in your profile link here, click done. And now visitors can connect with you on those platforms as well. For personal branding, we have lots of different fun, like decorative items. So you can check out different icons, maybe make like a really fun logo for yourself. And these are really nice because you can easily customize them to kind of match your, site design. So if you hit the paintbrush here, you can change up the color to kind of stay in line with your design. All right, and then we didn't get a chance to cover video, but we have a whole category dedicated to video and music. It's a drag and drop player. You can just drop it in, link to your YouTube or Vimeo, or upload a video. And same with music, lots of different ways to showcase your music here. All right, final feature here in the editor before we wrap things up. Introducing you to our WIX app market. So it's like the fourth panel over here on the left. This is where we have applications, not only from WIX, but as well as third-party developers. So for example, if you did want to embed your Instagram feed right into your portfolio, you can do that. You can find the application here, click Add to Site. And it's going to act just like that gallery we were working with before. So you can kind of customize the layout. You would just connect, to your account. And you can play around with the display and the settings and so forth. So that's a fun one. All right, so we just tackled at a very quick pace a brief intro to the front end experience of WIX. So how you can start building your website. Now I want to just click up here in settings, site, and I want to take us to our back office, or what we call our dashboard. Because as you're, finalizing your portfolio site, you're getting ready to publish it, you want to come back here because this is where you have tools to help you promote and manage your website. All right, so this is the website we just created together. You can go back to edit it. You could take like a site action to trash it. If you want to create a new one, you can begin that there as well. And then here over here on the left, you have all these other tools. You have your site analytics. So once it's live, you can see who's coming and going. And we also have our marketing category. And there's lots of fun tools here you can explore, things like promoting yourself via email or social. But probably the most important tool here is our Get Found on Google tool. So just bookmark this one in the back of your head. Remind yourself when you're ready to launch your website, you want to come back to the dashboard and go through our SEO wizard. SEO just standing for search engine optimization. So once you create a beautiful website, you want to make sure people on the web can find it, which means when they type your name into Google, you want to make sure your site is discoverable. This tool is going to help you ensure that your site is ready for Google and connected to the Google search engine. All right, and we make it really easy. It's like a step-by-step guide, and then we'll connect you to Google so people can search for you, for your site. Whew, that was a lot of information. I hope I didn't overwhelm anyone, but I wanted to kind of give you a very, in-depth tour of how you can begin. And so with that, Suzanne, I'm happy to take some questions. And I can also just do a quick mention once again, if you are interested in those, in that upgrade, Suzanne can probably provide more information on that as well.